What's up, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, gods and goddesses? It's your boy Godson again. Today I'm gonna touch bases on Kermit Washington, the accusations against him, and just raise a few questions like I always do. Do you think Kermit Washington is being blackballed, so to say, uh, ostracized, or are the accusations true against him? And like I always do, I'm just pointing out the facts and let you think about it. Now, let's get into who Kermit was. Kermit Washington was a former NBA player, um, mainly known for his most notable highlight of punching Rudy Tomjanovich. This was during an on-court fight back in 1977. The rumor has it that the punch almost killed Rudy Tomjanovich. It resulted in severe medical problems that ultimately ended his career at that time. Uh, Kermit Washington wasn't highly conveyed player coming out of high school. He barely got into college on an athletic scholarship. Coming out of high school, he only averaged like 4 points a game, but he did improve rapidly once he got to American University. He became one of only the 7 players ever in the NCAA history to average 20 points and 20 rebounds throughout the course of his career. He was known mainly as a defensive forward. He had the ability to get rebounds. He averaged almost 10 rebounds per game in the NBA, and also made it to one All Star appearance. Uh, he was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers at the fifth overall pick in 1973 NBA draft. Uh, he played 3 seasons, kind of under the radar, and then once he got with Pete Newell, right after his fourth season is when he kind of started to blossom. His game kind of improved rapidly, became a starter, and then from there on, he went to several other teams. He played for the Lakers, Boston Celtics, the Clippers, who was actually the San Diego Clippers at that time, Portland Trailblazers, and the Golden State Warriors. He was raised with his mother and father to his early ages. His mother Barbara went to Howard University, graduated, and his father was an X-ray technician. He claimed he had a rough childhood, and it got even rougher after his parents divorced, separated during the early stages of his childhood. His mother was classified as bipolar, and his father was out looking for work and different ways to make money, so he was never around. And he ended up going from different relatives, aunts and uncles. He claimed that the effect of being shuttled into different homes made him have a feeling of not being wanted, and making him extremely shy. During the summer of his senior high school year, going into his freshman year, Washington grew about 4 inches. At that time, he began intense regimens and weight training, running flights of stairs, different various workouts to improve his endurance. Uh, he became more extroverted in college. That a lot of people later said his life could be separated into two parts: his pre-college life and his life after college. The all-time infamous punch. Yes, they actually call it the infamous punch. This came into a few years into his NBA career in December of 1977 during an NBA game between the Lakers and the Rockets. There was like a scuffle that broke out, and in the events that led after that, there was a fight, and it was frequently debated that uh, probably a couple of months earlier, during a game that they had prior to that, that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was elbowed in the stomach, which kind of created a climate. So when the next time that they met, there was already something in the air. So this was something that had been brewing. It wasn't a situation where he just took off and punched on the dude. They had a lot of situations from prior games that led up to the punch. So keep in mind that um, after that, to make situations even worse, it was replayed for years on different networks, different sports networks. It even made it to Saturday Night Live. So this probably could have had some type of effect on him mentally. After what I would consider to be a pretty successful NBA career, he uh, he retired and opened up a couple of businesses. He started a restaurant as founder and operator of it with old teammate Kevin Duckworth. Shout out to Kevin Duckworth. That was one of my favorite players from the old days. Uh, he was also helping out with different coaching roles at Stanford University. He worked in the summer camps and different camps with Pete, old coach Pete Newell. They created the Big Man Camp, which has been going on for more than 15, 20 years. In 1955, he founded the Six Man Foundation, which is otherwise known as Project Contact Africa. I'm going to get into what Project Contact Africa is in a little bit. That's actually the main organization that he's being looked at right now. That's got him under the radar for the charges. Now, in August of 1994, he accompanied team doctors and different humanitarians on missions all over Africa. He went to Goma, Zaire, worked in different parts of Rwanda, different parts of South Africa. He also worked at a refugee camp, helping out victims in the bloody Rwanda civil war. So the thing is there maybe some things that he saw, maybe some things that he might know, because this foundation that they claim that he's been ripping off. Now, let me just also say, I'm not for Kermit or against Kermit. I'm just pointing out facts. That's all I'm trying to do. Now, the organization that they claim that he was ripping off, he's been working there or working for them or under them for more than 15, 20 years. So why would he wait all that time to still, I think what the numbers is right now is about 500,000, almost a $500,000, unless this took place over a course of time, which most likely it probably did. I'm sure he didn't. He didn't. If he did take the money, he didn't take it all at once. Okay. Now the prosecutors have filed charges against former NBA for Kermit Washington, accusing him of embezzling about $500,000 in charitable donations, which was meant to help out the needy in Africa. They claim that they have information that he's been spending on jewelry, vacations, and other various things. Uh, Mr. Washington, who was best known for his punch back in 1977, like I said, has a was met with an indictment filed in Kansas City on Monday. They arrested him, picked him up in Los Angeles the next day on Tuesday, and the indictment was unsealed Wednesday. So you can go check out what the indictment actually entails. It's public records. You can go see it for yourself. Um, Washington, who he bailed out on 75,000, was mainly charged with interfering with internal revenue laws. Can't play with the IRS. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud, obstruction of justice, and aggravated identity theft. The charges largely stem from transactions that occurred from about 2004 through 2013, according to what entails in the indictment. Like I said, you can go as public records. You can go check it out for yourself. Uh, the actual federal indictment alleges that the former NBA player used his celebrity status to exploit the good intentions of those who donated to the charity that he founded, called Project Contact Africa. The U.S. Attorney of the Western District of Missouri quoted that Tammy Dickinson. She declined to say how much of the money actually went to charity, but she sure was definitely focused on the characterizations of which is a very small fraction actually. Now let's talk about the Africa contact or the contact to Africa, also known as Africa contact. It's a Danish NGO. NGO is pretty much the United Nations powered, which was formed in 1978 as South Africa Contact by a number of political parties, trade unions, and other organizations to fight colonialism. The organization initially worked to abolish apartheid in South Africa. Africa Contact has approximately 500 members. It's a democratic and flat structure. An annual general meeting is held, and elected executive committees and several work groups. The project team is responsible for daily running of the organization, while the overall responsibility for projects and donor contracts rests with the executive committee. The active members are at the heart of the organization and they work voluntarily and unpaid. Okay? The organization has two main focus areas: capacity building and empowerment of African grassroots movements, and political lobbying advocacy. Okay, so you got to understand how important grassroots movements are in Africa, and also how important political lobbying is. That's how laws get paid and votes get made. Africa Contact uses a rights based approach, which is also under the doctrine of the United Nations. Uh, the other focus areas are social and economic rights. So they're dealing with economic rights over their money, wages, and different things like that. Creating a democracy change, changing political powers and relations, uh, equitable distributions of the wealth, advocacy, information, work, and also keeping a close relationship with Denmark trade, natural resources, migration, and various sources of that. Africa Context projects receive pretty much funding from the government through DANITA, which is I believe it's a not a country but an area of Africa, or not so much a country or continent of Africa. It's just an area of Africa. The projects are carried out with partners of sub-Saharan Africa, like Zambia, Swaziland, and Zimbabwe, Uganda, and other Western Sahara African countries, or African city states, however you want to consider that to be. The ideas for and formulation of these projects come from African partners, which is meant to ensure that the partnerships between Africa and other partner organizations based on trust and common vision for development of the work. Now, it's pretty much a civil society that's organized by sub-African groups and African partners. Washington, who is scheduled for a court hearing in Missouri on June 16th, hasn't. There's also records showing that he hasn't been represented by any attorneys yet. Various sources tried to contact his attorneys for statements, and he had an old attorney that represented him in an old case. He claims that he's not representing him anymore and hasn't been contacted to represent him in this up and coming case. The investigation continues; it's ongoing. Um, it actually stems from earlier Kansas City-based federal investigations into pirated software that's also involved in some of the charges, which was minor charges against several other people. Um, Basically, all they said is they just followed the money and they came up with Kermit. So we're gonna see how this actually plays out. Who's gonna represent him? Are the charges gonna stick? Do they have proof? We don't see any proof, just accusations. Now, some of the defendants in the software case are accused of paying Washington to allow them to sell their items through Project Contact Africa's website, which entails saving them money and different various fees. And then it also would have got them easy pay through PayPal and eBay and different things of that sorts. And Washington is 64 years old. He currently was working as a regional representative for the NBA from 2005, I think, to the earlier parts of this year. They accuse him of using his position to use professional athletes, uh, pro football athletes, and different athletes in the entertainment industry to bloom the charity. The mix of the different athletes, they claim him. They claim that it's a situation that shows that he's out there networking and working with different people and actually moving forward with an idea to embezzle money. So that's what the whole thing we need to look at. Do you believe that this was premeditated? Is he actually was he setting up the foundation for self needs or to actually help out people? And did he see a gateway through, once he was helping out people, did he see a gateway for himself to come up? So you can't be biased, can't pass any judgment on any of that from what I'm seeing. I think that he's gonna have his day in court. Maybe it might go to trial, and everything will come out. Hopefully, he's not out here scamming the needy people. Because in my book, what I do have to say about that is that's the type of black people that's a cancer to our nationality, to our race. That's the type of black people that has most of us in the situation that we're in right now as a whole. Not meaning individually, meaning as a whole, as a race. While we're looked down upon, while we're not trusted, while we're seen as the bottom of the totem pole, and it's really not beneficial to us as people. So, in my book, a nigga or African American of this caliber should be put down, and I don't mean death. I mean put down. I mean ostracized. I mean the whole total put down. So that's how I feel if the accusations are true. But what I'm saying at the same time is, could there be a purpose for this, all this coming out now? He's been with this organization for more than 15, 20 years. Is there something that he saw? Is there something that they want to keep from him getting out? There's also another side of the gate. So look into the comment box, add your comments, like, share, subscribe. Tell me what you think about it. I'll answer all questions. I answer all emails. Remember that knowing is way better than belief. Knowing is better than believing. Study to show thyself approved. Okay? We are the enlightened ones. We are the Illuminati. Peace.